today's vlog. Today I wanted to do a story time of why I decided to switch providers at 34 weeks pregnant. So we'll just get right into it. So I loved my provider through the beginning of my pregnancy because when I was 7 weeks pregnant, I really had to get in because I thought I was having a miscarriage because I was cramping really bad and I was just in a lot of pain. And so I was just really worried. So I decided to call and get an appointment to go in and see what was wrong and all the things. And so my provider, she was the only person available that day to be able to take me in, and they wanted to get me in to figure out what was wrong. So she got me in, and I just really liked her from that moment when I met her. I just thought she was such a great provider, and she was just super helpful and helped calm my nerves. And obviously I wasn't having a miscarriage. It was just a subchorionic hemorrhage. So I was really grateful for that it wasn't anything really bad. It was just a subchorionic hemorrhage, which are really common now, but I had never heard about them before. So I kept going to my appointments and I really liked her, and I wanted to have a natural birth, and we had talked about that and she was like totally cool with that. But I think at my 30-week appointment, or it might have been a little earlier than that, my blood pressure like skyrocketed for some reason. I think it was like 140 over 80 or something. And so that was really scary. And it was the first appointment that I went to that my husband couldn't go with me to because he had just started a new job. So I was like sobbing and I was so nervous and stressed out, and obviously I like went and got back in my car and started researching all the things, and it just makes you even more nervous and worried than you already were. Even though she told me not to worry, I was so worried, and I called my husband crying and I was just so upset. But the hospital was like an hour away from us, so I was like, okay, maybe it's just because like I had to drive myself, and like that drive makes me really stressed out and stuff, so that's probably just what it was. So I'm not gonna worry too much about it. So she asked me to go pick up a blood pressure monitor and then monitor it every day to make sure like it was a good level while I was at home and resting and stuff, so there wasn't any other problems. And so I did that, and she told me to call if like it ever got above like 130, I think, and it never did every time I checked it at home. So, and then I went back 2 weeks later, and I had been checking it this whole time, and it was really high again, like probably the same reading as it was before. And I was just like, I don't understand. I was telling her, like, I've checked it every single day at home, and it's been like 116 over 70 or whatever. And it hasn't been high. It's been like a really good level. And she was like, okay, well, if it's still good at home, then we'll just do like some blood work and some urine tests and make sure that, you know, all the signs look good. And make sure that you don't have like preeclampsia or anything like that. And all the blood work and urine tests all came back fine. And so everything was great. I kept checking my blood pressure every day at home, making sure that everything looked good. And at my next appointment that I went to, it was high again. And I was just like so confused. I don't know why. Because after my first appointment, my mother-in-law started driving me down and going with me, so I didn't have to make that drive. And so I thought for sure that it would be low, just like it is when I'm at home. And it was high again. And so that's when she kind of started telling me, like, if you keep having this problem, then we're going to have to induce you probably at like 38 weeks. And I really didn't want to be induced. And I was just like, it doesn't make any sense because my blood pressure is really great at home. So I just kind of decided at that appointment that I wanted to go a different route and not go the hospital way because I just believe that my body will go into labor naturally and that I don't need to be induced because my body knows what it's doing. And my blood pressure wasn't really a concern to me because every time I checked it at home, it was totally fine. So, also, this is not medical advice. This is my story and what I did. So don't take anything that I'm saying to be true or anything. So I had friends who had had a baby with a midwife, and so I reached out to them and asked them who their midwife was. And I was able to get on a call with her and talk to her. And it just seemed like such a better fit because I really wanted to have like a water birth and all of those things. And talking to her just kind of calmed my nerves and just made me really believe that I could have the birth that I was wanting. So that was a really great conversation, and it just seemed more of what I wanted to do. So I had my first appointment with the midwife, and it was so great. And she checked my blood pressure, and it was totally fine. So I don't know if the hospital's like blood pressure, like the monitor was just like off because it's one of the electric ones, and it just was giving me a high reading for some reason. I don't know what was happening, but it was not good. So yeah, I started seeing my midwife, and she was so great, and we were able to talk about like my dream birth and everything that I wanted for that. And I just felt a lot of peace about it, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. So yeah, every time she came over, my blood pressure was always great, and I was still monitoring it, and it was great every time I checked it. So I wasn't worried about it, and as you know, I ended up giving birth at home with no complications, and it went great. So I'm so glad that I stuck with what my gut was saying and decided to switch providers and give birth at home, especially because Kinsley was so small when I gave birth to her, and I was 42 weeks, so I can't even imagine how tiny she would have been if I got induced at 38 weeks. And she probably would have had to stay like in the NICU and stuff, and that just would have been so sad. So I'm glad that I went with my intuition, and I decided to give birth at home and switch providers, even though I loved my original provider as well. I'll probably go back and see her with my next babies for ultrasounds and stuff. But yeah, that is why I decided to switch providers at 34 weeks pregnant, which was really stressful. So thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. That would help me out so much. And I'll see you guys in the next one.